Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're talking about another traditional type of knife. This is a slip joint pattern called the TUXEDO. This one's from WRK & Sons, and this one has the what they call bubble gum pink coloration on it. I got this a long time ago. I'm not actually sure what I got this. Like, it was probably in a trade. I know I didn't buy it, but it is a really interesting knife. You can see the scales here. Let me actually just zoom in, make it easier. Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're talking about another traditional type of knife. This is a slip joint pattern called the TUXEDO. This one's from WRK & Sons, and this one has the what they call bubble gum pink coloration on it. I got this a long time ago. I'm not actually sure what I got this. Like, it was probably in a trade. I know I didn't buy it, but it is a really interesting knife. You can see the scales here. Let me actually just zoom in, make it easier. So like I said, this has the pink scales on it, but the front scale is a lot lighter. These dyed bone scales have all different variants in color and how that dye is actually taken into the scale. In this particular case, the back one is just a lot darker, so there's a lot more coloration there, whereas the front is a very, very light pink, almost, you know, off-white pinkish color. I feel like they definitely could have done a better job in matching up the scales, but it's kind of unique and different. So back to the actual pattern here, because obviously this came in all different types of colors and stuff. This is called the TUXEDO. All right, now if you look up TUXEDO knives and the history, there's not a whole lot of information out there. A TUXEDO is basically a specific type of another slip joint pattern, which is known as the Swell center. All right, so if you look at this knife, actually, if I take the blades out so we get a better view of the handle shape here, we could see that we have very elongated bolsters on this, and as the handle goes up, it flares out in the middle and then, you know, kind of narrows back down. So we have a swelled center. So this is considered a small swell center jack, technically. However, because of these elongated bolsters, that's what kind of makes it a TUXEDO. So a TUXEDO knife pattern is a more specific swell center jack. Now we're going to take a look at the blades here, but the first thing I want to show you is that they both have half stops. All right, very distinctive, crisp half stops, all right? Now, if you're not familiar with this, the point of a half stop is when you're closing the knife on a traditional pattern, all right, having a half stop allows you to partially close the knife and then safely move your fingers out of that channel so you don't get cut, okay? If you don't have a half stop, as you're closing it, it might slip and go all the way down. It's just a really nice feature, and this one has, like I said, a very distinctive half stop. So the large blade here, all right, is very unique in that we have a swedge on the top, all right, a long nail pull, so when it's closed, we have the availability of using our fingernail in there along the entire length. All right, this is technically a drop point, although it's so far down it almost looks like a Warncliffe style blade, but there is still a little bit of a sweep up towards the end, so I guess technically it's still a drop point. All right, and then our small blade, which is even smaller, is the same pretty much without the swedge. So although it kind of looks like a Warncliffe style blade, which a lot of people love, there is a tiny little sweep towards the tip. If I put this on my fingertip, maybe you can see that a little bit better. But very, very awesome little blade, super, super sharp. It's basically a little gentleman's knife. There's a ton of different knife patterns out there. The TUXEDO is one of the more rare ones. Sometimes you will see, you know, some swell centers. They're a little bit more common than specifically TUXEDOs, but again, what kind of distinguishes this specific knife design from the other swell centers is these elongated bolsters. Now, some people say this is called a TUXEDO because it's kind of the shape of a bow tie, and I don't really see that. I mean, the bow tie obviously has a knot in the middle, so that would flare out, but all bow ties flare back out on the ends, and this tapers down to a very narrow end. So even if a bow tie was untied, if you could picture that, it still has a flare in the middle and you know, kind of flares out on the end. So I don't really see that. I'm not sure, you know, if that's accurate or not, but I have heard that multiple times from different people. You know, it's hard because a lot of this history, it could be a little subjective. A lot of the information is taken from older books. You know, that's what is usually passed around. You know, if there's an old collector's book or something that has a little, you know, passage in there about a specific type of knife, that's the information people see, that's what they post, that's what people remember and they read, and so that information gets spread quite easily. But I don't have a specific book that mentions, you know, TUXEDOs in detail. I do have many old books that that talk about swell centers, all right? And this, again, is just a variant of a swell center jack, or in this case, a small swell center jack. But it is kind of rare. It is unique, all right, for people out there looking for, you know, a classic, you know, classy little gentleman's knife. Another suggestion would be that it was called a tuxedo because it was a classy little knife you would slip into the maybe inside pocket on a tuxedo jacket. You know, that would make a little bit more sense to me than the bow tie theory. But, you know, either way, it's a very cool knife, even though our large blade is already small. Having that secondary blade that's even smaller just to be, you know, kept for really fine cutting work. I mean, like I said, super sharp. Very good quality on this. Again, the half stops just, I don't know, they really stand out to me on this as being extra crisp. It's just a classy little knife. Right. I wanted to zoom back in here to show you these markings. Of course, the shield, the case shield, as well as the logo on here. All right, case has an awesome dating system. You can look that up. You can see the back is sterile. Now, if we look at the smaller blade, you can see that we have the model number here from Case. So it's USA 62156, and the bottom says SS. All right, suggesting this is the stainless steel. Some of the Case knives did use carbon steel. So 62156, if you wanted to look up Case, you know, tuxedo knives. All right, that's going to be their pattern code. All right, and of course, there's plenty of different companies that make these. Finding older ones is a little bit harder. A lot of times, you know, with older knives in general, you'll find scales that are cracked, broken, loose, blades that are rusted shut, things like that. But, you know, they're out there, obviously, and it's just more rare to find one that's in good condition. Now, something else, too, is these are also referred to as Coke bottles. Now, I did a previous video, I don't know exactly when, it was months ago, maybe about a year ago or so, and I showed a Coke bottle knife, all right? Was specifically Coke bottle shaped, where the bottom was much fatter, okay? It was a swell belly, all right, or swell center, so that it did flare out in the middle and then taper to a bolster that looked like this, but it looked literally like the silhouette of a Coke bottle, okay? This one, even though they're referred to as Coke bottles, there are specific Coke bottle patterns, all right? So just to not get, you know, too confused, if you do see these and people are calling Coke bottles, that is a very common thing. You have tuxedo, which is specific to this pattern, but they're also referred to, especially back in the day, like very old references, we'll call them Coke bottles because I don't think they had a specific Coke bottle shape. I think that pattern came way later. So when you see dated reference material calling these Coke bottles, it's because this is the closest thing that looked like a Coke bottle until later on when they made one that looked even closer to the actual silhouette of a Coke bottle. So it can be a little confusing. Generally speaking, this is a small, swell-centered jackknife, right? Or more specifically, a tuxedo. But again, when you're seeing older references, or if you're buying a much older vintage knife or antique knife, they may actually, you know, refer to it as a Coke bottle, even though it's more of a tuxedo. As time went on, and there's a lot more knife companies making new designs and stuff, you'll see there's references to different, you know, names, and plus there was nicknames for knives too. Maybe a knife was sold as this, but then people called it that, you know what I mean? So it could get a little confusing, and you see the repetition of different names used, even though they are slightly different patterns. Now, as far as size on these, the tuxedos are generally very, very small little knives. You can see it in the hand here. Although the swell centers can be all different sizes. There's a bunch of different patterns that just have the swell center look. Okay, so it could be a regular jackknife, it could be more of a trapper style, just depends. But they come in all sizes. I mean, really, really big ones, medium, small, you name it. It's just with the very specific tapered bolsters or pill bolsters, which I've heard some people refer to them as. These generally are smaller, and that's why this would be considered the tuxedo. So let me know down in the comment section if you guys have a tuxedo and or if you use one. It's just a really classy knife. For the people out there looking for a specific like suit jacket knife, something you want to carry, you know, to the weddings or maybe to work or something. And it's very, very unintimidating. It's just really cool. Obviously, I've always been a fan of Case knives. Like I said, picked this up in a trade at some point. I don't even remember. I've had this for years now. But I know I didn't pick the pink, although it's really cool. Because I have a couple pink knives by accident. I've never purchased a pink knife, but it's nice because I never would buy a pink knife specifically. It's just nice to accidentally get them because it's a little variety in the collection. So although pink's not my thing, plenty of people out there like it, and you know, it is very vibrant. I have to say that. My only critique is that I would like that the scales matched more. Although I do really like the very deep kind of pink there, it stands out. The very light pink is pretty cool. I just kind of wish it matched. either way. This was a poor pairing, in my opinion, of scale coloration, but sometimes it's just kind of random. On the assembly line, they're just slapping scales together. Some are light, some are dark. Sometimes it matches, sometimes it doesn't. So this is pretty extreme case of it not matching. But hey, that could just make the knife a little bit more unique. Again, let me know down in the comment section, are you a tuxedo person? If you do, if you collect them and everything, we'd love to hear about yours. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.